The Galactic Confederation arrives in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. Their massive crystalline ships glimmer against the darkness of space, catching the sun's rays and refracting them in patterns that confuse Earth's defense satellites. Admiral Chen of the United Space Command stares at the main view screen with narrowed eyes. They're deliberately using light patterns to blind our targeting systems, he observes. Interesting first move. Ambassador Zilthar leads the diplomatic team to Geneva in a shuttle that seems to bend light around its edges. His scaled skin shifts between confident blue and authoritative gold as he prepares to add another protected world to their three-spiral arm empire. The Garlaxians have performed this ritual hundreds of times across their expansion. Arrive, intimidate, negotiate surrender, establish control. Their long-range scans had detected nuclear capabilities, but completely missed the true nature of Earth's defenses. When the sleek alien shuttle lands on the specially constructed platform at the United Nations complex, a multilingual greeting plays over the speakers in an attempt to communicate. The assembled honor guard stands at perfect attention, uniforms pressed and weapons ceremonially displayed. To human eyes, they represent the disciplined cooperation of Earth's nations. To the Garlaxians emerging from their craft, they register as merely decorative. Captain Maya Rodriguez, commander of the multinational security detail, catches the dismissive glance from Zilthar's primary security officer. The alien's inner eyelid flicks dismissively as he scans the human soldiers. They think we're just for show. She whispers to Lieutenant O'Cuffer beside her. Let them, he responds quietly. Underestimation is an advantage. The UN Secretary-General Amara O'Cuffer, Lieutenant O'Cuffer's aunt and a former military strategist herself, greets the aliens with calculated warmth. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Zilthar. We are honored by your presence and look forward to establishing peaceful relations between our peoples. The translator device around Zilthar's neck processes her words and responds in a metallic approximation of his sibilant language. The Galactic Confederation is pleased to include Earth within our sphere of protection. In the control room beneath the platform, General Isamu Chen watches the interaction through secure feeds. Notice the phrasing, he tells his international counterparts. Not alliance. Not cooperation, protection. The negotiations move to the Grand Assembly Hall, where Zilthar displays holographic maps of nearby star systems, all under Garlaxian protection. His proposal comes wrapped in diplomatic language, but lands with the subtlety of a hammer. Earth will surrender 40% of its resources and accept a Garlaxian advisory council in exchange for technological advancement and defense against greater threats. The Earth delegation exchanges glances. They had anticipated this from their xenanthropologists' predictions based on first contact protocols from a dozen science fiction scenarios that had, ironically, prepared humanity better than any actual training could have. Ambassador, Secretary-General O'Cuffer says carefully, before we discuss terms, we would like to offer a cultural exchange. Perhaps a demonstration of Earth's defensive capabilities would help you better understand our civilization. Zilthar's scales ripple with barely concealed amusement. Of course, we would be fascinated to observe your capabilities. As the delegates rise to conclude this initial meeting, Captain Rodriguez receives a single-word text on her secure communicator, Thunderbolt. She acknowledges with a subtle nod to the observation cameras. Around the world, specialized training facilities activate their protocols. The demonstration teams, handpicked from every elite fighting force on the planet, begin their final preparations. They have no idea what they're about to witness. Lieutenant Okafor whispers, Captain Rodriguez allows herself a small smile. That's exactly the point. The morning sun glints off the tactical gear of 24 elite soldiers assembled at the specially constructed training facility outside Geneva. The complex, built in just 72 hours, features terrain modules simulating every challenging environment on Earth: Arctic ice walls, desert sand pits, tropical canopy, and urban ruins. Ambassador Zilthar and his delegation arrive via hover transport, their scales shimmering with pale green curiosity tinged with the golden edges of overconfidence. Captain Rodriguez notices their security detail has doubled, a sign they've at least recognized the need for caution. "Welcome to the International Special Forces Training Ground," General Chen announces. "Today, representatives from Earth's most advanced combat units will demonstrate our standard peacekeeping capabilities." Zilthar settles into the observation platform. "We are eager to witness your martial traditions before finalizing our protection agreement." General Chen's smile never reaches his eyes. "Let us begin." The demonstration starts with no warning. The observation platform's sensors detect nothing until 20 Navy SEALs surface simultaneously from the artificial lake, having approached underwater using rebreathers that left no bubble trail. The aliens flinch collectively at the sudden appearance of armed humans, where sensors had detected no life signs. Fascinating adaptation to aquatic environments, one Galaxian scientist murmurs, recording data rapidly. Before they can fully process this display, 2 SAS teams fast rope from stealth helicopters that had approached below radar detection. They secure a mock hostile structure in 18 seconds flat, moving with precision that the alien observers struggle to follow with their stereoscopic vision. Notice they're using primitive projectile weapons, yet achieving computational accuracy, another scientist notes with increasing interest. Lieutenant Okafor, standing beside Zilthar, explains casually, "These are baseline operations, nothing specialized yet." The aliens exchange troubled glances as Chinese snow leopard commandos demonstrate extreme weather infiltration, moving through artificial snowstorms while carrying equipment equal to their body weight. They scale a sheer ice wall using nothing but handheld picks, each movement synchronized without visible communication. Then comes the centerpiece, a joint exercise featuring mixed teams from multiple nations. The scenario: infiltrate a vessel with unknown internal configuration and secure its command center without alerting internal security. The mock vessel, deliberately designed with features based on what Earth's scientists had observed of Galaxian ship architecture, stands at the center of the compound. As the mixed nationality team approaches, they divide into specialized units. Some create diversionary electromagnetic pulses that temporarily blind observation systems. Others exploit microscopic entry points, demonstrating flexibility that makes the rigid exoskeleton Galaxians shift uncomfortably. They're using no neural networks. Zilthar observes with disbelief as the humans coordinate complex maneuvers using only hand signals and pre-planned timing. No air assistance at all. "We find technology can fail," Captain Rodriguez explains. "Humans prefer redundancy in our capabilities." The demonstration reaches its climax when the infiltration team secures the mock command center in under 4 minutes, neutralizing all internal defense systems using tactics that combine ancient martial techniques with modern technology. One soldier disables a security node using only pressure applied to specific points, a technique dating back thousands of years on Earth. Zilthar's scales fade to ashen grey, the Galaxian equivalent of shocked pallor. His security chief leans in to whisper urgently in their native language, but General Chen interrupts in perfect Galaxian. Your concern about our combat capabilities being more advanced than your preliminary scans suggested is quite justified. The ambassador freezes, realizing humans have already deciphered enough of their language to understand private conversations. Perhaps, Secretary General Okafor suggests diplomatically as she joins them, we should reconsider the terms of our potential arrangement, as equals rather than protectorates. Zilthar stares at the training ground where human soldiers are now casually reassembling complex equipment with practiced efficiency. Perhaps, he agrees, his voice significantly less confident than it had been that morning. The Galaxian delegation returns to their orbiting command ship in troubled silence. Ambassador Zilthar paces the circular chamber of his private quarters, scales fluctuating between concerned purple and calculating blue. The demonstration has forced a complete reassessment of Earth's threat level. The humans possess capabilities our scans failed to detect. His security chief, Krelvor, reports to the assembled officers. Their combat units demonstrate coordination typically achieved only through neural implants, yet they use none. The ship's military commander, Vexnar, bristles his neck ridges in dismissal. Primitive demonstrations in controlled environments mean nothing against orbital superiority. Their projectile weapons cannot reach us here. Zilthar activates a holographic replay of the day's events. They showed us exactly what they wanted us to see. The question is, what didn't they show us? He turns to his communications officer. Send an encrypted message to the Confederation fleet. Request immediate security reinforcement. Classification: urgent. 3 days later, the massive Galaxian battlecruiser Inevitable Dominance emerges from subspace near Earth's moon. Its arrival is deliberately conspicuous, shields generating visible atmospheric distortion as it takes position in low Earth orbit. Commander Vexnar stands on the command deck, his posture radiating confidence restored by 14 kilometers of advanced warship under his control. The humans must understand the consequences of resistance. He announces as weapons systems power up with spectacular energy signatures deliberately left unshielded to be detected by Earth's instruments. The demonstration target is selected with precision. An uninhabited island in the South Pacific, far from population centers, but visible to global monitoring systems. The Inevitable Dominance unleashes a focused particle beam that vaporizes 2 square kilometers instantly, sending a massive steam cloud into the atmosphere. On screens worldwide, humans watch the display of alien power. In the UN Security Council chamber, representatives fall silent as satellite footage plays. But General Chen notices something unexpected in their expressions, not fear, but grim determination. They expect this to break us, Secretary General Okafor observes quietly. A fundamental misunderstanding of human psychology, General Chen responds. Threats don't paralyze us, they focus us. The Galaxian ultimatum arrives via global broadcast, Zilthar's image appearing on communication systems worldwide. People of Earth, you have witnessed a fraction of our capability. The Galaxian Confederation offers one final opportunity to accept our protection. Your governing bodies have 6 hours to surrender authority, or we will demonstrate our power on populated targets. The broadcast ends, leaving momentary silence before Secretary General Okafor turns to General Chen. Activate Thunderbolt Protocol. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, the U.S. Colorado receives encrypted coordinates. Captain Hiroshi Tanaka addresses his elite crew. Deployment authorized. Thunderbolt teams, prepare for orbital insertion. Similar scenes unfold aboard the British HMS Audacious in the Atlantic, the Russian Nevskoy in the Arctic, the Chinese Long March in the South China Sea, the Indian Vikrant in the Indian Ocean, and the Brazilian Amazonas in the South Atlantic. 6 submarines, each carrying specially trained multinational combat teams, slip silently into new positions. In orbit, Commander Vexnar studies Earth's response patterns with growing satisfaction. They've diverted resources to civilian evacuation. Military assets remain in defensive postures only. Typical pre-surrender behavior, Zilthar agrees, scales shifting to confident gold. His science officer interrupts with concern. Ambassador, I'm detecting unusual thermal signatures in Earth's oceans, but they don't match known military vessels. Irrelevant, Commander Vexnar dismisses. Their primitive watercraft pose no threat to this vessel. The science officer hesitates. The signatures just disappeared, Commander. Beneath them, unseen and undetected, Operation Silent Response begins its deployment phase. Humanity's true capabilities remain hidden, precisely as planned. Captain Maya Rodriguez checks her exosuit seals one final time as the specialized delivery vehicle accelerates upward through Earth's atmosphere. 5 other team leaders do the same in identical vehicles, launching from submarines across the globe. 24 of Earth's most elite combat specialists, 4 per team, hurtle toward the massive Galaxian battlecruiser. Oxygen levels optimal, thermal dampening active, suit integrity at 100%, Lieutenant O'Kiffer confirms, running through pre-mission protocols beside her. Their vehicle, disguised as space debris on Galaxian scanners thanks to specialized stealth technology, approaches the battlecruiser's underside. Years of studying theoretical alien ship designs are about to be tested in reality. 2 minutes to contact, the pilot announces. Maintenance hatch identified on Sector 4, just as intelligence predicted. Rodriguez studies the tactical display. The massive ship's design prioritizes offensive capability over defensive coverage, leaving small blind spots near maintenance access points. Perfect, she whispers. Aboard the inevitable Dominance, Commander Vexnar monitors Earth's military bases with growing satisfaction. Still no launch of intercept vehicles. Their nuclear silos remain inactive. They recognize the futility of resistance. A junior officer reports, minor atmospheric disturbance detected in Sector 4, registering as space debris. Scan it, Vexnar orders without concern. Composition indicates metallic refuse. No energy signatures. No biological readings, the officer confirms after a moment. Disregard. Continue countdown to secondary demonstration. The delivery vehicle attaches to the battlecruiser's hull with magnetic precision. Using cutting tools specifically designed based on metallurgical analysis of Galaxian hull samples collected during first contact, Rodriguez's team creates an entry point through an external maintenance hatch. The ship's automated systems register the breach as a scheduled pressure equalization. We're in, Rodriguez whispers as her team slips through the opening. Their exosuits, developed through reverse engineering of Galaxian environmental technology, make them nearly invisible to the ship's internal sensors. Moving through ventilation shafts considered too narrow for any sentient species, the humans navigate using memorized ship schematics constructed through predictive modeling. Rodriguez leads her team toward the life support control center, while other teams target weapons, propulsion, communications, security, and the command deck. In the battlecruiser's engineering section, a Galaxian technician pauses at a subtle sound from above, something between a whisper and a click. He examines his monitoring station, but finds no alerts. The maintenance shaft above him opens silently, and before he can react, a targeted sedative dart, calibrated specifically for Garlaxian physiology, renders him unconscious. Specialist Janeway drops from the shaft, landing noiselessly on the deck. He drags the unconscious alien into a storage compartment before signaling the all-clear to his teammates. Similar scenes unfold across the massive vessel as human teams systematically neutralize Garlaxian crew members with precision that would be impossible without months of specialized training. On the command deck, Commander Vexenar receives the first troubling report. Engineering Section 3 is not responding to status queries. Send security to investigate, he orders, irritation evident in his tone. Before the order can be implemented, weapons control similarly goes silent, followed by the primary propulsion monitoring station. We have intruders, Vexenar realizes with shock. Full security alert. Lock down all critical systems. His communications officer attempts to comply, but finds his console unresponsive. Sir, security protocols have been overridden. Commander Vexenar reaches for his personal weapon, but the command center doors slide open to reveal Captain Rodriguez and her team, weapons trained on the Garlaxian leadership. Your vessel is now under Earth control, she announces calmly. Please remain seated, and no harm will come to your crew. Vexenar stares in disbelief. Impossible. No species has ever breached a Confederation battlecruiser. Rodriguez permits herself a small smile. Welcome to Earth, Commander. We specialize in the impossible. Commander Vexenar stands rigidly on his command deck, his scales shifting between rage red and humiliation grey. Around him, human operators have taken control of every station, while his crew sits restrained but unharmed. Captain Rodriguez monitors the situation from the commander's own chair, her posture relaxed but alert. You used no energy weapons, Vexenar observes, breaking the tense silence. No advanced technology at all. We used exactly what we needed, Rodriguez responds. Nothing more. Lieutenant O'Cuffer approaches with a data tablet. All sections secured, Captain. 47 critical systems under our control. Crew complement of 812 accounted for, all incapacitated or contained. 0 casualties on either side. Vexenar's neck ridges flatten in disbelief. How did you neutralize my security teams? They are the finest warriors in 3 spiral arms. Rodriguez gestures to Specialist Kojima, who steps forward with quiet confidence. Your warriors rely on neural implants and powered exoskeletons. When faced with this, he demonstrates a simple joint lock on a nearby human for illustration. They had no counter. Physical combat is an extinct art in your civilization. Impossible, Vexenar hisses. We have dominated hundreds of species across thousands of years. Through technological superiority, Rodriguez notes, when that advantage disappears, you have no fallback capability. The commander lunges suddenly toward the emergency protocol terminal. His movement, impressive by Galaxian standards, seems almost slow to the humans present. Specialist Jackson intercepts him with practiced ease, using a Brazilian jiu-jitsu technique developed on Earth centuries earlier. The massive alien commander finds himself immobilized by leveraged body weight and precisely applied pressure. Your species evolved in high-gravity environments. Jackson explains professionally as he maintains the hold. Impressive strength, but limited joint flexibility and slower neural response time. Rodriguez activates the main view screen. Commander, I believe this will interest you. The screen displays tactical feeds from 11 other Galaxian vessels in the Earth Defense Fleet. Each shows similar scenes: human teams in control of critical systems, Galaxian crews contained with minimal resistance. Simultaneous infiltration of 12 advanced warships. Lieutenant Okafor announces. Operation complete in under 4 hours. Vexenar's scales fade to pale surrender white. This is beyond comprehension. Our security systems are designed to detect any intrusion force. They detect what they're programmed to detect, Rodriguez explains. Large energy signatures, weapons discharge, mass movement of personnel. They weren't designed to detect 6-person teams moving through maintenance shafts. The communication system activates with a priority signal from Earth. Secretary General Okafor appears on screen, her expression professionally neutral despite the historic moment. Commander Vexenar, Ambassador Zilthar, she acknowledges. I trust Captain Rodriguez has demonstrated our position clearly. Earth is prepared to negotiate the terms of your fleet's release. Ambassador Zilthar appears in the frame beside Vexenar, his scales showing the pale patterns of diplomatic caution. This is unprecedented, Secretary General. No species has ever challenged the Confederation in this manner. Perhaps that explains your miscalculation regarding Earth, she responds. We have never sought galactic domination, but we have perfected the art of defending against those who do. As this reality sinks in, Vexenar turns to study the humans controlling his vessel. They seem physically unremarkable, smaller than Galaxians, lacking natural armor or claws. Yet they move with an economy of motion that speaks to thousands of years of combat evolution. You could have destroyed our ships, he realizes suddenly, vented our atmosphere, disabled life support. Rodriguez nods. We could have. We chose negotiation instead. Why? The commander asks, genuinely puzzled. Because, she explains, true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to find alternatives to destruction. That's humanity's real advantage. The grand conference room aboard the Galaxian flagship transforms into an unprecedented diplomatic arena. The massive horseshoe-shaped table, designed to place subordinate species in the physically lower position at its open end, now seats humans and Galaxians as equals along both sides. Ambassador Zilthar, his scales fluctuating between diplomatic green and anxious purple, faces Secretary General Okafor across the polished surface. 3,000 years of Confederation history, Zilthar begins, and no species has ever held a negotiating position like yours. Okafor smiles diplomatically. Perhaps that speaks more to your approach to first contact than to other species' capabilities. Behind her, Captain Rodriguez and Lieutenant Okafor stand at parade rest, their presence a reminder of how thoroughly humans had upended the power dynamic. Along the walls, surveillance feeds display the human teams still in control of critical systems throughout the Galaxian fleet. The Confederation Council demands the immediate return of our vessels, Zilthar states, attempting to project authority despite his precarious position. General Chen, joining the human delegation via holographic projection from Earth, raises an eyebrow. Demands. An interesting negotiating strategy given the circumstances. Commander Vexenar shifts uncomfortably. Our fleet represents significant Confederation resources. Surely you understand our concern. Of course, Secretary General Okafor acknowledges. Just as you must understand our concern about a civilization that arrives at our world and immediately threatens orbital bombardment. Rodriguez activates a display showing Earth's combat teams systematically documenting Galaxian technology throughout the captured vessels. Engineers scan propulsion systems, weapons arrays, and shield generators with handheld devices. "We're quick studies," she explains. "Even if you somehow regained control of your ships, we now understand your weapons, your propulsion systems, and your vulnerabilities." This revelation forces a visible recalculation from the Galaxian delegation. Zilthar confers briefly with his advisors in hushed tones before addressing the humans again. "What are your terms?" he asks, scales settling into a more pragmatic blue. Secretary-General O'Cuffer presents a transparent tablet displaying a surprisingly simple agreement. Earth will be recognized as a sovereign system with full autonomy. The Galaxian Confederation will establish non-interference protocols regarding Earth and its future colonies. In exchange, we return your vessels and crew unharmed, and open diplomatic and trade relations as equals. Vexenar studies the document with surprise. "You demand no technology transfer, no weapon systems, no territorial concessions." "We don't need your technology," General Chen responds. "We've already learned what we needed from your vessels. As for territory, Earth has no immediate expansionist goals. We simply wish to develop at our own pace without interference." Zilfar's scales shift to calculating indigo. "And if we refuse these terms?" Okafor's expression remains pleasant but firm. "Then we release the detailed schematics of Galaxian defense systems, including the weaknesses we've identified, to every species currently under your protection." The ambassador freezes, understanding the implications immediately. That would destabilize 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. It would create opportunity for self-determination, Okafor corrects, something we value highly. A tense silence falls across the conference room. Finally, Zilfar's scales settle into the formal pattern of diplomatic acquiescence. "The Confederation accepts these terms," he announces. "Though I must warn you, our Council will not forget this humiliation." "This isn't humiliation, Ambassador," Lieutenant O'Keefer interjects unexpectedly. "It's education. There's a difference." Secretary-General O'Keefer extends her hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, Zilfar reciprocates, his clawed hand carefully clasping hers. "To new understandings," Okafor offers. "To new understandings," the ambassador echoes, with newfound respect in his multifaceted eyes. News travels fast across interstellar distances, carried by quantum entanglement communications and hyperspatial courier drones. Within days of the Earth-Galaxian treaty signing, whispers of the unprecedented encounter reach the farthest edges of charted space. In the crystalline cities of the Novan Republic, 17 species gather in their grand assembly to discuss this unexpected development. "Verification confirmed," announces Chancellor Ilara, her methane-breathing apparatus glistening under the assembly lights. The Galaxian Confederation has officially recognized Earth as a sovereign system with full autonomy. Murmurs ripple through the gathered delegates, each species expressing surprise in their own manner, from the subsonic vibrations of the silicon-based Lithari to the color-shifting skin patterns of the aquatic Melosians. "Impossible," declares the Vox ambassador, his tentacles gesticulating wildly. The Confederation has never recognized a pre-FTL civilization as sovereign. Chancellor Ilara activates the central holographic display. More importantly, they signed a non-interference treaty. The Galaxians never sign non-interference treaties. They dominate or they leave. The display fills with fragmented footage, security recordings smuggled out by sympathetic Galaxian crew members, and sold for enormous sums on the galactic information market. The assembled delegates watch in stunned silence as the recordings show human combat teams systematically neutralizing Galaxian security forces using physical techniques rather than advanced technology. These humans appear physically unremarkable, observes the Sentinel representative, her crystalline body refracting light as she leans forward. No natural weapons, no significant armoured integuments, no apparent technological advantages. That is precisely what makes this so significant, Ilara responds. They defeated the Confederation's elite security forces using nothing but their minds and bodies. In a private chamber adjacent to the assembly hall, Admiral Corvus of the Novan Republic Defense Force studies the footage with professional intensity. His species evolved as apex predators, giving him natural insight into combat tactics. Notice their movements, he tells his senior staff, efficient, precise, no wasted energy. These techniques appear to have been refined over thousands of years. His tactical officer, Commander Thala, freezes one frame showing a human applying a restraint technique to a Galaxian twice their size. How did they develop such skills without neural enhancement or genetic modification? Necessity, Corvus answers. According to our historical database, humans evolved on a highly competitive planet with multiple apex predator species. They developed these abilities naturally, then refined them through cultural transmission. The Novan Council votes unanimously to establish secret contact with Earth. Their diplomatic vessel departs immediately, programmed with a circuitous route to avoid Galaxian detection. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Galaxian High Command convenes an emergency session. The massive amphitheater thrums with tension as Admiral Verlac addresses the assembled military leadership. This failure cannot be tolerated, he declares, scales flaring aggressive crimson. We must reassert Confederation dominance. An elderly commander rises from the lower tiers. I have reviewed all tactical data from the Earth encounter. Their combat methods are unlike anything in our database. Before we consider retaliation, we must understand these techniques. Admiral Verlac bristles with indignation. You suggest we study primitive physical combat. Absurd. I suggest, the elder responds calmly, that we acknowledge a tactical gap in our capabilities. A gap that allowed 24 humans to capture 12 of our most advanced warships without firing a single energy weapon. Reluctant agreement spreads through the chamber. Within days, the first Galaxian military academy dedicated to physical combat training opens its doors. Young recruits study footage of human movements, attempting to replicate techniques their species had abandoned millennia ago. Throughout the sector, the question spreads between worlds and across species boundaries. Have you seen what the humans can do? 6 months after the Galaxian standoff, Earth hosts representatives from 32 spacefaring civilizations at a repurposed military base in the southern Alps of New Zealand. Snow-capped peaks rise around the facility like natural sentinels, creating a training ground where diverse species must contend with Earth's challenging gravity and atmospheric conditions. General Isamu Chen stands at the podium, addressing the assembled delegates with calm authority. Behind him, Captain Rodriguez and Lieutenant Okafor flank Secretary General Amara Okafor, the 4 of them representing Earth's unified approach to their new galactic role. Welcome to the first Interstellar Combat Academy, Chen announces. Here, surrounded by terrain that has challenged human warriors for centuries, we begin a new chapter in galactic security. The audience includes beings of remarkable diversity, crystalline entities requiring specialized environmental suits, methane breathers with shimmering respiratory apparatus, species with exoskeletons, endoskeletons, and some with no skeletons at all. Despite their physiological differences, they share a common purpose: learning what humans call the ancient arts. Throughout our history, Chen continues, humans developed these skills because we had to overcome stronger adversaries and hostile environments. We turned our physical limitations into advantages through innovation and determination. The demonstration area opens to reveal 24 drill instructors from Earth's elite units. They move into synchronized formations, demonstrating fighting techniques dating back thousands of years, the fluid movements of Brazilian capoeira, the precise strikes of Filipino kali, the grappling techniques of Japanese jiu-jitsu, the strategic positioning of Chinese tai chi. The alien observers watch in fascination. Many represent civilizations with technology capable of destroying planets, yet they study these primitive physical movements with intense interest. Notice that these techniques require no external power source, Rodriguez explains as she walks among the delegates. They function regardless of technological disruption. They cannot be hacked, jammed, or disabled. In the training barracks beyond the main facility, the first class of alien recruits begins basic conditioning. A Novan Republic officer with 4 arms struggles to complete a simple sequence of blocks against a human instructor half his size. Nearby, a Galaxian security specialist practices falling techniques, learning to distribute impact across his rigid body, a concept entirely foreign to his species. Ambassador Zil Thar approaches Secretary General Okafor during the demonstration, his scales now permanently tinged with the blue of respect. "We have studied your combat methods for months," he admits. "My species cannot replicate many of these movements due to our physiological constraints. That's why adaptation is the most important lesson we teach," Okafor responds. Each species must develop techniques suited to their biology and psychology. Zilthar considers this. The Confederation has proposed an expanded agreement. We will provide faster-than-light technology to Earth in exchange for permanent access to this training facility. Okafor smiles diplomatically. "We're open to technology exchange, Ambassador, but Earth's combat knowledge is not a commodity to be purchased. It's a partnership we offer to all peaceful civilizations." As the first day's demonstrations conclude, General Chen invites the alien delegates to observe a sunset ceremony. Human instructors from different nations and traditions perform their respective martial arts simultaneously, a flowing demonstration of Earth's diverse approaches to the fundamental challenge of combat. For too long, advanced civilizations have relied solely on technological superiority. Chen tells the assembled visitors, "Earth offers a different legacy. We teach that the most powerful weapon in the universe is not the one that causes the most destruction, but the one that remains effective under any circumstance, the trained mind directing the disciplined body." The Academy's illuminated sign glows against the darkening sky. Soul Combat Academy. Strength through knowledge, peace through strength.